Okay, we continue on with the next four problems on this, for this Are We Similar note page. Okay, so on example number 5, what we need to notice here, and let me just find one. This shows a little, with a little less drawing on it from the original, and that's what I was looking for. I'm going to pause a second. Okay, here we go again. So looking at number 5, what we need to notice is that it is marked, and remember, we're never going to see markings that show that the side links are congruent, because they're not. We can clearly see they have the same shape, they're similar triangles, same shape, different size. So what does these symbols mean? It's the arrows. That is what indicates parallel lines. So I see 2 arrows here, which means this line is parallel to this one. 1 arrow there, 1 arrow there. This one is parallel to this one. Okay, so what that means, if we think about our parallel lines, when we studied parallel lines, we did it, and we wanted to make sure that we understood that when 2 lines were parallel, we're looking at these green lines. If those are parallel, then I'm going to outline this more. The corresponding angles, this angle and this angle, are congruent. Here's my transversal. And then this line and this line, those are my parallel lines. Here's my transversal that crosses both of those parallel lines, and that gives me this little purple angle right here, which is congruent to this little purple angle here. So this angle and this angle are congruent, and that's angle L, which is up here. I'll put the clean one next to it so you can see it a little better. It's kind of cleaner there. So here's angle L. This angle up here is congruent to this one here. I can mark it on this. So we end up with this angle congruent to this angle, which is angle L is congruent, and this, we cannot just say angle K, because this could be angle K, this could be angle K, or this, or the whole thing is really angle K. So we have to be distinct about, precise about making sure we identify just this angle. So that is going to be JKN. We named the 3 letters that if you follow them along, you end up with that angle. Vertex is always in the middle. Vertex angle, where the angle actually makes the turn, that letter will always be in the middle of those 3 letters. So, going back to this, we have angle L is congruent to angle JKN. The purples are congruent. Then I take a look at the other parallel lines. Here and here. So those ones are in red. Alright, so same thing. This is my transversal. And looking at the red lines, this one is parallel to this one. There's my transversal. And again, when they come through, I end up with this angle is congruent. The pink angles are congruent. So again, I would name that. This angle J can be by itself because it's the only angle there. So angle J is congruent to angle LKM. LKM. this one. So the pink 2 lines and the pink 2 lines. Those two are congruent. So then I can say that this triangle right here, which we are calling triangle, oops, this one up here, which is triangle LMK, this angle here is congruent, this triangle is similar. Did I write similar there? No, I did not. I put congruent. The angles are congruent, but the triangles are not congruent. They are similar. So, I have triangle LMK is similar to triangle KNJ. KNJ. Notice I go in the same direction, from here to here to here, back up again. From here to here to here, and back up again. Okay, so I've got 2 angles of this triangle that are congruent to 2 angles of this triangle, so I have the triangles are similar by angle. And when we state that, we know that if these 2 angles, this angle of this triangle is congruent to this angle of that triangle, and then these other 2 angles are congruent, this third side must be congruent because they have to add up to 180. Okay, now let's take a look at this situation. We have 2 triangles here. This smaller purple one. And then we have, and this is probably a good way to identify it, the larger, by outlining it. And notice we get the mixture of the colors. That's because this side is part of both of the triangles. So I have the smaller triangle and then the bigger triangle. And let's not forget the sides of the smaller triangle. From here to here, it's going to be 44. And then of the larger one, from here to here, is going to be 65. So, large triangle, longest side, 65 over 44. Is it similar to smaller triangle, start with the larger side, 35 over 24? There's no way these can be reduced to become the same number, so no, not similar. Now let's look at the last one. Second to last one. Okay, now one of the things that we want to get to understand here is with a triangle, all the angles have to add up to 180, and we're looking for congruent angles. So we want to strategize a little bit. If I have this triangle with a 90 degree and a 61 degree angle, and this triangle with a 90 degree and a 35 degree angle, I want to see if this missing angle, I've got this 34, I've got this 34 degree angle, I want to see if these are going to match up, which would mean the missing side here, because there's no 61, but if they match, this has to be 61. So the missing side here has to be 61. The missing side here has to be 34. Now, all I need to do is get this one, this side. So there's already my 90. Subtract that from the 180 and I'm left with 90, because these two have to add up to 90. Okay, so I subtract the 61 from that 90 that is left in here, and I get 29, which means this angle has to be 29. Remember, I'm looking for matching corresponding congruent angles. So if the third side here is third angle here is 29, there's no angles over here that are going to match. This would have to be 56. But remember, I'm just looking for these angles to be corresponding and congruent to this one. Once I realize that this is 29, that's 34, I see it's not going to happen. So I really don't have to get that angle. It's when I'm not sure of what the concept is that I would get it, and then notice that, oh, they're not matching. But we want to get that concept down first, and it just saves us some work. Okay, so these are not similar because it's 3. The only angle they have in common is the 90 degree. The other two angles are not congruent. Okay, the last one. And all we'd write there? Not similar. Now looking at this last one, we start with, we've got these vertical angles. So that's one of the first things we want to notice. This angle is congruent to that. So this looks like it should be a side angle side similarity. So we're going to try to find out. So we set up, we know we got congruent angles, but do we have proportional sides? So I look at this triangle, the smaller one. The small side of the small triangle is 39. I'm going to put that over the small side of the bigger triangle. So I look at the big triangle, the small side, that's 84. This is the smaller side of the information given. So that's 63, 39 over 63. Then I come back and I say, okay, now the other side, 52 over 84, the one I didn't use here. Then I reduce that to find out, are they proportional? Now again, I can cross multiply or I can reduce. With big numbers like this, since we can't use a calculator, let's just reduce. I can reduce this by 3. If I divide this by 3, I divide that by 3, I'm going to get 39 side work. And I need to see the side work from you guys because I'm realizing that a lot of you just have forgotten how to do this. So this is going to be 39 divided by 3. 3 goes into 39. 3 goes into itself once, 3 times, that's a 0. And then I bring down the 9. 3 goes into 9 3 times, 13. So that's going to be a 13. Then 63 divided by 3. 63 divided by 3. Both of these numbers have to be divided by the same number. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And 3 divided by, that comes down, subtract a 0, bring down the 3, that's a 1. 21. Now I look at this. Okay, I can divide by 4. 52 divided by 4. Okay, think of how many decks, how many cards are in a deck of cards. How many cards? 52. How many different faces do we have? 4. We have the hearts, the clubs, the spades, and the diamonds. Okay, 4. How many are in each one? 13. You can remember that. You can remember 4 divided by 52 is going to be 13. But in case we don't, there, bring down the 1, that's a 12. 4 goes into that 3 times. There we go. So we got 13, and then 84 divided by 4. 4 goes into that 2 times. That's an 8. 0, when we subtract, bring down the 4, that's a 1. A 21. They do equal each other. So these are proportional by side, angle side. And that would be triangle. I'm going here to the middle, to there, to the bigger side. Small side to the middle, to the larger side. So triangle SRQ is congruent to triangle small side to the middle, TRU. Triangle TRU by side, angle, side. Okay, I hope that helps. And then that corresponds to pages 5 and 6 in the homework packet. Good luck.